Hi everyone, thank you for visiting this website. Lots of people told me in the journey leading up to its beginning that I should tell my story and where I was coming from and how that had an impact on the design of Scholar Freedom, and I kept being resistant with that and saying, no, it's not about me. I realise it is, because the trauma and the rage and the silencing and the gatekeeping and the oppression are all embedded into how the dream came to be the way it is and how it looks right now. But it's not about me anymore. That is the genesis story, but it's no longer where Scholar Freedom, for where I wish for it to go. But then several friends said, yeah, but you're the one who always looks at the video at the founder's story, and based on what you see, you make a decision on whether you like it or not. And I was like, yeah, okay, true. You caught me out. So I am making this little video to make sure that people can see the human behind the platform and understand that there really is a real person who endured a lot of crap, really, which in various ways almost every academic will be able to relate to. And so hopefully you're able to see the person behind the platform, which is the point of this little presentation. So Scholar Freedom, it's got two key missions: to open credible research to the public and ensure academics are properly paid. So that's why our two key words, whenever you see the word Scholar Freedom, will be fair and credible, because they are our two key missions. So to give you a little snapshot of that little founder's story and the trauma that came to drive this dream. I worked at a university for 10 years, and of course, being academics, we are paid to pay attention to detail, so I'm not really sure how universities think we're not. For the first 3 years that I was working there, I worked overtime out of sheer goodwill, just like so many of you who are watching this video. And then at the end of that 3 years, I realized that was a really dumb thing to do, because no one's got my back. And I started to keep an Excel spreadsheet of the daily hours I was working, which is how I know exactly how much unpaid overtime labour I was doing. And it was to the equivalent of nearly $118,000. A lot of money, which I would really prefer to be in my bank account rather than management's. Also, somewhere toward the end of that 10-year period, like a perfectly trained neoliberal capitalist research producer, I wrote and wrote and wrote. I had so many manuscripts out, and across them all, you know, they were out at several different journals, and across them all I experienced 65 rejections, which, if you think is not a battering, a psychological battering to the soul, then I really don't know what is. At the same time, I was the breadwinner of a 6-person household. There were 4 children here, 2 adults, and I was also working part-time at a second university for 5 of those 10 years. So I was facing enormous family pressure, financial pressure, workplace pressure. It was all sitting on top of me, and there was absolutely no reprieve and no support. I hit a slight crunch point, and realized that something needs to give. So I applied for sabbatical. I applied for a fellowship actually, and I didn't get it. But I was so invested in my project proposal and so invested in seeing that dream come to life that I thought, okay, I'll just apply for sabbatical. I'll do the labor on my own. I need some space from teaching to be able to finish this dream, this research dream that I have. And the one and only application I put in nearly 20 years of working as an academic was rejected, which was yet another blow. And so I decided to take long service leave. And honestly, it was the beginning of the end and the beginning of the world's biggest blessing in disguise. I slept. I slept for months. For the first few months of that long service leave, I was doing 2-hour naps a day and then 8 to 10 hours again at night. Unbroken, deep, beautiful. They were wonderful sleeps. Nothing I could say of the past, the 10 preceding years. And it was only later in hindsight that I was able to see that that was trauma healing. That was my body saying, slow down. and get some rest. And it did a lot of good deep psychological work, processing the fact that I had been running to nowhere for so long. One of those naps was incredible. I woke up with just a vision, because this is the beauty of trauma healing. The creativity suddenly shows up again, and you're like, oh, there's me at my best self. She's rocking. And I had a nap, and I woke up with a vision about how the academic publishing system just needs to do X, Y, and Z to be better. And I wrote a blog about it, and I left it at that. A week passed or something like that, and I was like, well, if it's that easy, you should just do it. So I hid the blog because I started to look around, and people were like, oh, if this is a patentable idea, it shouldn't be out in the public. So I was like, okay, and I started to just check stuff out. And I spoke to a lot of people, and I started consulting with industries I had never had anything to do with ever before. The end of 2020 came, and instead of applying for a promotion, which had been its own saga, I took a voluntary redundancy package, started speaking to website developers, venture capitalists, marketing people, taxation lawyers, university librarians. The list is long. Academic, open access publishing platform consultants, long list of people. And I transitioned from being an academic to an entrepreneur, as I like to now colloquially say, a acapreneur. And that's the journey of how I came to design Scholar Freedom. So I've mentioned the two missions before, and the reason why they've been designed as they have is to address two key problems: that journals are currently getting paid for the work that researchers do at approximately $20 billion per annum, which actually belongs to you, the academic. Again, I think you'd like to see some of that money for your labor in your bank account. And secondly, the decisions that editors and reviewers use to decide what gets to get published is structurally racist and sexist. So people may or may not be familiar with this term, the prove it again bias. It basically is about saying, where's your evidence for that? Where's your credibility? I don't really believe you. What's your source? I need more information. And it's just this continuous, this is how we're in a situation where the average rejection rate for journals is 55%, and some of the highly prestigious journals are sitting at about 90% rejection. And there is a very predictable pattern about whose work they're rejecting. Journal impact factors go down the more they publish women. The research has already shown this. So, I'll stop talking, I'll get too angry. If you have a non-anglicized name, even worse. The combined intersectional effects of racism and sexism are profound. You will see as you work through my website that I have poured this rage in various places. And hopefully, you're someone who's sitting there. I came across a quote the other day that said, power is not in how hard you hit, it's in how true you hit. So I hope that as you browse through the website, something rings true for you and you understand where this project is coming from, where this platform is coming from, and that it in fact is built for everyone, because everyone in this business of academia will relate to something. There's a trauma we all share. A lot of that rage I've put into a really nice, neat, concise paper, which is a white paper that is available at the bottom of the landing page of the platform, so please feel free to have a read of that. This is the first thing you'll see when you arrive on our platform, and I've just realized that I have been talking for nearly 10 minutes, and I made a little promise to myself that I wouldn't ramble. I have a whole heap of slides here that we're going to talk you through how the platform works, but I actually think you can do it all by yourself. And I hope you have a lot of fun doing it and smiling at things that you're like, yep, that's a knowing smile. I share that with you. Other things might be really confronting and you're like, that is not my experience and I don't know what this person is banging on about. I completely and utterly disagree. It's very confronting. And I'm okay with all of that. I think that's the start of a really transformational journey. So I hope I'm able to keep you on board eventually and see that there is still, despite your any initial defensiveness or resistance, still something in it for you. So that's it. I'll sign off and have a lovely day. Bye.